Welcome to Transform Today and Do It Again Tomorrow, the podcast devoted to non-woo-woo wellness to help you get unstuck, take your life off autopilot, and have more fun by being your authentic self. This is episode number 11, Being a Minimalist Can Reduce Anxiety. Hey, it's me, Rebecca. I am a wellness coach and I focus on purpose, potential, and having a joyful life that's balanced and meaningful. And I created this podcast to help kind of normalize the topic of wellness and making sure I bring it to you in a grounded way that doesn't feel preachy or just too out there. Just bringing real words to real people to help wellness be an everyday part of your life. Now, when I work with a client, the first thing we do is we look at their lives. So the entire picture, we kind of zoom away from it, look at the whole picture. And almost all clients come to me with this one common reason. They feel stuck. They sometimes know why they feel stuck. Sometimes they don't know why. But every single time I meet with someone, we come across discoveries together that they wouldn't have made on their own. Because together we unpack things, I ask them lots of questions. Sometimes they're annoying questions that dig a little deep. We think deeply, and suddenly the picture comes into focus, and we start to connect the dots. So a common theme with clients, or really all of us in general, is anxiety, right? You hear about it all the time. People have anxiety. I'm not going to talk about too much about anxiety today, but I'm going to talk about one of the ways I see anxiety being created, and that's through being overwhelmed. When we're overwhelmed, we feel like we're not in control, right? Like there's too much in our lives. This can mean physical things like stuff we surround ourselves in, or it can mean responsibilities or just distractions in general. There's too much stuff. And it's my job as a wellness coach to challenge clients to think about things they might not otherwise think about. So today, I'm challenging you to think about minimalism. That's the word of the day, minimalism. When we're talking about minimalism, what we're really talking about is finding our focus and decluttering. We're simply setting boundaries on what we're letting into our physical space as well as our mental space. So again, minimalism means setting boundaries on what we're letting into our physical space as well as our mental space. We're not just talking about our houses here. We're talking about our minds, our bodies, our spirits. We're taking our life off autopilot and we're challenging our old ways of doing things. That's what minimalism is. But think about how you've seen minimalism represented in the media. Right? Most times it's a tiny house. I own 3 shirts, maybe 1 plate and a rusty bicycle. That's what minimalism looks like in mainstream culture. And okay, that works for some people. That's wonderful. But I want to tell you today, minimalism can start wherever you want, however you define it. And you can find a level that works for you. Now, you might have heard this before in other episodes I've done. I say find your flavor. That goes for anything in your life that you're working on. Find what works for you. Find your flavor. The spectrum is wide for minimalism. You can go crazy and sell all your possessions and live simply if that's what really feels good to you. If it doesn't feel good to you, don't do it. Find your flavor. We're not here to say possessions are bad. That's not the point here. You can enjoy your things. Just find a pace that works for you so your things aren't in control of you. So when we're talking about minimalism, we can declutter a house and you're going to find peace if you do that, right? We can declutter our computer desktop to feel productive and efficient again. There's a reward for doing the decluttering, right? But what's most important about minimalism is the consistent habits you put behind that lifestyle to make it last. You're not just saying, I'm going to clean out this closet. Nope, you're backing it up with new habits, consistent habits. That's going to put that lifestyle of being a minimalist to life. It's going to bring it to the forefront and make that a consistent part of your life. So the idea here is less is more. Minimalism, right? Makes sense. Less is more. But it doesn't have to mean giving away all your possessions and just going crazy. It can simply mean making choices that will lead to less overwhelm and give you more control. More control, guess what, guys? That means less anxiety. Yay! Less anxiety is great. Less overwhelm, more control. More control means less anxiety and more of just feeling like this life is yours again and you're not being swept up by it, right? You're making good decisions that take some thought and effort. So I want to challenge you right now, off the top of your head right now. Can you think of an area in your life that makes you feel a little frazzled, buried, or maybe it just gives you thoughts like, ugh, I really need to do something about this, but you're just not sure how? Is there something that quickly comes to the top of your head? Okay, you got it? Good job. So I watch those hoarder shows. Have you seen those shows where they go in and people are literally buried alive by their stuff? I'm talking stuff upon stuff upon stuff, like newspapers from the 1950s piled up with like Arby's cartons from 10 years ago. It's just stuff upon stuff and bugs everywhere. It's the extreme of what minimalism is not. So these shows go into hoarders' homes and they clean them up. And it always feels good and hopeful when they get it cleaned up, right? Like, fresh start. But I know in my heart, the second the cameras go away, that person is off to the flea market to start all over again. Because it's really not about the clutter. It's about why they want the clutter. It's covering up something. And it's fascinating. We could do a whole episode on the why they do that. But if it's a quick fix of just cleaning up without backing it up with better habits, it's going to circle back to be the same way it used to be. So figuring out the why, that's the hard part. And why, that's the thing I can't answer for you. I can't give you I can't say, here's your why. Here's your reason why you're cluttering your house. I don't know. It's not prescriptive. Everyone's different. But I can give you a quick overview answer, and it's because filling our lives with distractions, it feels good, right? I mean, I'll be honest, it feels good to have distractions. It feels like a relief and easy at first to fill our lives up with things, distractions, or constant busyness. This helps us not have to look at the ugly why that's buried underneath our actions. It's just more fun. So are there any things in your life you feel like you could organize better, cut back on, or streamline so you can have more peace? That's the ultimate goal, right? Peace. How about your possessions? Your schedule? Think about it. And here's the hard part. It's really kind of annoying. Having a minimalist lifestyle, it goes against American culture, so it makes it extra hard. And that sounds really whiny and like a first world complaint. Like, it's so hard having everything we want. It's not what I mean, but I'm saying like when you set out to make these new goals and these new habits, understand you're going to be swimming upstream a little bit, especially in America. Our culture is set up to have everything we want right away and have a ton of it. Think of Amazon, for goodness sake. It's so easy to click a button, and our thing that feels so necessary is delivered right to our front step. Even before we really think about, do I need this 10 millionth thing? Do I really need it? But it's there before we can even think about it. Another example, and I'm not dogging this, man. I love a good all-you-can-eat food buffet. Sign me up. It's wonderful. But they're set up to give us more, like more food, all you can eat. You're like, I'm going to get my money's worth. Like, that's what I do. Like, if I'm going to pay this money, I'm going to eat a ton. But what minimalism does, it kind of puts a wrench in that sort of passive living and constant receiving, right? Minimalism, it challenges us to be more in charge of our thinking and to choose quality over quantity, and to choose focus over quick fixes. So again, minimalism puts you in charge of your thinking. You're not just passively saying, I want this, I want that. Yeah. Look at this sale at the store. It's buy one, get one free. It's a food buffet. It's all this stuff. No, it puts you in charge of your thinking, saying, slow down. Do you really need all that stuff? Isn't it better to choose quality over quantity, and to choose focus over quick fixes. That's the name of the game here. Focus over quick fixes. So, think about some quick fixes in your life. Here's an example that's pretty common. You might buy new clothes often because you don't really like the way you feel. You think, oh, I'll buy new clothes, I'll feel better. And sure, you feel better for a second, but the deeper issue is maybe you'd really like to lose weight to feel better. So the clothes are just a quick fix. They're just a Band-Aid to cover up the why. And the why is you don't feel great about yourself. So that's an example. It may or may not apply to you, but it's pretty common. Or you might keep buying a lot of things because it feels fun to get things. But can you just stop and ask yourself if those possessions are bringing you fulfillment? Or is it kind of getting out of hand? You might keep watching too much television or scrolling too much on your phone. And again, that's a quick fix. The quick fix is pulling you away from boredom or distracting you from tackling that goal you have tucked away in your brain. Minimalism would push you to cut back on things you're doing that numb your brain. Now, having mindless activities and splurging sometimes, that's great. I love it. We need that. But minimalism challenges us to live more simply, to give our brain some space. Our brain needs a little space from the distractions. Another way you can think of minimalism is moderation, right? You've heard that phrase, moderation, everything in moderation. That's all minimalism is. It doesn't have to be this crazy extreme. It could just mean like, hey, this is getting out of hand. I'm going to cut back a little bit or check myself a little bit. Give my brain some space. So no, minimalism does not have to mean giving away all your stuff and moving to a tiny house, but it does mean taking a step back, taking a deep breath, looking around and identifying what feels overwhelming to your life and why. Again, take a step back, identify what feels overwhelming. And then you start thinking of how you're going to fix it and what you can continually do to not let it get out of hand again. So again, those actions that back up that lifestyle, that's what's most important. And remember, you got to find your flavor. What works for me, for example, might not work for you. And I am a person who thrives on having few things. I just love that energy of like feeling like, okay, I don't need that. Can I challenge myself to live with less? In my 20s, it got a little out of hand. I went a little crazy with this. I had an apartment in Chicago. I was living alone. I was definitely tapped into living a minimalist lifestyle. I didn't have a TV. I had one set of dishes, no clutter anywhere, like no clutter. I call them tchotchkes, like little decorations, nothing like that. I still don't like stuff like that. It makes my skin crawl. Like I just love clean surfaces with nothing on them. But my apartment was a little ridiculous. I think I had like a couple photos on the but that was it. A couch, a desk, a bed. I did get a kitchen table eventually, like a 2-person one. But that was it, like minimalist to the extreme. And I remember my sister came to visit me and she was just like, are you okay? Are you like really poor? Do you need some money? Like, what is going on? I'm like, no, this is great. And I had just gone through a breakup, so I wanted to really peel away all the layers and just figure out who I was. And it was hard work. It was just like, wow, I'm not surrounded by these distractions. But it turned out to be kind of the best time of my life to really figure out who I was and what made me tick. And I knew I wanted to be a writer. I just felt all these things bubble up to the surface because I could see things more clearly without the stuff. So that worked for me then. It doesn't work for me now. I've got 4 kids, but I that sentiment still lives within me of like, what can we purge? What can we get rid of to really dig into life a little more deeply? How can we cut the fluff? So thinking you have to be that extreme like I was, that can be stressful, right? But guess what? All you have to do is be yourself. Nobody wins a prize for depriving themselves the most, right? It's not like who can suffer the most wins. No. But I do want to nudge you to see if there's anything you can do without, or maybe reevaluate in your life and incorporate some minimalist thinking. So I like for you to use these podcasts in a really applicable way to your own life. I'm not just talking about minimalism. Okay, now can you think about your own life? So to do that, let's break it into categories so you can have specific starting points to examine in your life. So the first category we'll look at is time. We don't think about being minimalist and thinking of time. We think of things, right? But there's different areas in your life that could use some kind of decluttering. So look at your time. Are you or your kids, your family, are you so overscheduled and overextended that you feel like you don't have enough quality time? If you have too much quantity, quality lacks at times. So how can you infuse your chaotic schedule with some minimalist actions? Here's a tough one, guys. Can you start saying no to things and figure out why you're always saying yes? Oh, Lord, I'm speaking to the women here. I say yes to everything. Sure, I can do that. Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. I'm dying inside, but yeah, sure. No. Start saying no, figuring out where can I say no and have more quality time in my life rather than constantly pulled in a million directions. And it's going to be for you to decide, but your gut is going to tell you what feels like too much, right? Most times in life, we already know what we have to fix, but we avoid it because, it's hard. It's hard to face stuff. It's hard work. And again, it's just more fun to cover it up with other things, isn't it? You're not alone in this. There's no shame. It's just how humans are wired. So here's a category you might not think about when it comes to minimalism: friendships. It's hard when we realize we have some friends we just have nothing in common with anymore, or we can't be ourselves around them, or we have so many friends on social media, but we're like, why? I don't even know those people. So maybe it's time to redirect your precious energy toward those who you can be yourself around, those that you actually talk to and hang out with. Can you minimalize your friendship list and actually dig in deeper? We talked about this last week, about how friendships and connections to others, that's literally a huge ingredient to having a happy life. So apply minimalism to your friendships and direct all your energy to where it counts the most. It's worth it. Another thing you might not think about with minimalist living is food. How about the food you're eating? Are you putting thought and intention behind it, or are you more of a whatever I can get my hands on as long as it's cheap sort of person? We might not think of someone who cares about what they eat as a minimalist, but to me it's kind of the same category. When you plan and you shop and you put awesome nourishment in your body, you are choosing quality over quantity, a great characteristic of minimalist living. You're choosing focus over a quick fix. Again, that's what minimalists do. Quality over quantity, focus over a quick fix. You're not letting food be in control. You're in control by being organized. Ooh, I love that word. Organized, focused, and intentional. And along these lines, the same thing goes for our health or our fitness. We could be overwhelmed and buy all the things, all the cardio equipment, all the gym memberships, and really cute yoga pants, and never actually get to the work. We never actually exercise. We're just busy filling our lives with the things that make us get ready to one day do the work. Or we can be minimalist about it and keep it simple. Put on the same workout outfit every morning. Who cares? Get moving. Don't overthink it. Being minimalist means you cut out the fluff and face the root of the issue. Again, think of that. Cut out the fluff, face the root of the issue. And that's no fun. But I'm here to walk you through it. The most common application of being a minimalist is decluttering possessions. But this one still has many layers to it. You might have a lot of things, and maybe you truly do use them. And yeah, they make you happy. They're not the focus of your world. That's great. That's great. So I'm here to say if you have a lot of things, it's okay. If you truly enjoy them, you're truly using them. But if you begin to feel that you have so many things that you don't even know what you have, or you don't use most of it, there's a chance your possessions are kind of taking control and you are along for the ride. And then your life gets on autopilot, and then you feel stuck, and then you have anxiety. It's like this conveyor belt of oh God, more stuff's coming down the line. Oh God. chill. Stop collecting things that are taking control over your life. And once we have a lot of things, we can get stuck in that rhythm of always wanting more, right? Because it is fun to get new things, but think about how long that fun lasts. Wears off pretty quickly, right? Until the next thing comes along, until the next Amazon Prime Day. Like, oh God, there's something else. Yay. It's just this revolving door. And if we get stuck in this loop, there's less chance to feel organized and in charge. We can instead feel like our focus is on finding happiness in possessions rather than our own purpose. That's what can happen if you put collecting things before working on yourself at the root of your life. Your focus is on finding happiness in possessions rather than your own purpose. And that's super easy to do. We all are guilty of that in some way. So one last category I want to give you in regards to kind of streamlining your life is how much information you let into your brain every day. This one might sound a little strange, but think about how much you're letting into your brain from the second you wake up to when you go to sleep. A lot of it is great. Information's great. But maybe, again, we're treading into the quantity over quality area, right? It's just constant information. And I'm guilty of this. I listen to way too many podcasts. I go down a lot of rabbit holes for books I just need to read. And it sounds great. It sounds like, oh, well, that's reading and listening to podcasts. That's pretty healthy. But no, it can be too much. It can mean I feel overwhelmed. And like, oh, I'm not reading this. I'm not finding all the podcasts. I get a little obsessed. So I need to do some work on just being at peace with the fact that I'll never hear all of it. I'll never read all of it. It's okay. My real prize is having a peaceful mind that will find what it needs to find. Just be peace with, well, whatever I hear is whatever I hear. I don't need to be so obsessed with finding the next best thing that I miss out on my actual life. So you can see a common theme here of having a minimalist lifestyle is being organized and in control. Those are the buzzwords, organized and in control. Focused as well. That's another great buzzword. So going back to what I said about a lot of clients and people in general having anxiety, right? It's most often because we feel like we have no control. When you have anxiety, you feel like your life is not yours. There's nothing you can do about it. You're just along for the ride. You're being pulled by your emotions, your situations. You're just floating around with no direction. You have no control. So you feel anxietal. That makes sense. So now you can see minimalism can start with anything in your life where you feel you're on autopilot. You can decide what might help you take more control back and take steps towards better habits that put you in the driver's seat. And once you're in the driver's seat, anxiety definitely goes away. Maybe not completely, but if you feel like you're in the driver's seat, you've got to feel better about your life, right? So let's bring it back to you again. Where is there a pain point in your life? Think about it. Do you have a closet full of clothes you don't wear and you just keep buying more? Is your garage so stuffed you can't fit a car in it? Is your schedule so packed you don't have any downtime where you can feel any peace and calm? Is your life so full of people you have nothing in common with, yet you keep saying yes to them? Are your computer desktop, your email, and your phone so cluttered you don't know where to begin to work efficiently anymore? Or are you busying yourself with distractions to avoid the act of getting to the root of your issue? Are you filling your life with distractions to avoid the workout, the grief, the loneliness, the low self-esteem, the fear of getting older? Oh, sorry, it's depressing, but I gotta be real with you. That list can go on and on. It's personal to whatever you're feeling. And this is the very tricky part of kind of peeling back the layers and not filling our lives with so much stuff and distractions. Once we peel it back, we see what's underneath. And sometimes we find the thing we've worked hard to bury, and it's not easy to face it. That list is depressing, right? But here's something to think about as well. Not all of us are going to find this huge revelation. We just got into bad habits and we didn't know, why. Becoming more minimalist can mean you're at a good place in your life, but you just want to tweak it a bit to prevent future issues. Or becoming more minimalist means you have a lot of pain points and you've been burying them for years with your things and your habits. And maybe it is going to take some time and patience to face and to switch gears, but it is possible. So now you might be saying, just tell us how to do this already. How can I become more minimalist in my life? Well, I can't do that for you, okay? Coaching is not prescriptive. I can't say, follow these 3 steps. No way, man. It's not going to work that way because it's not authentic to who you are. It's for you to decide what you're going to do because you have to make it become a lifestyle and a mindset, not a quick fix. Again, minimalism equals lifestyle and mindset, not a quick fix. Start with where you feel overwhelmed. Where is that? And it's up to you to set some new actions to put those actions into motion. But I will say this, you do have to start small. If you set out to make huge, dramatic changes, there's a better chance that won't be sustainable and you'll be back to your old self in no time. So find one thing today that gives you anxiety. And it sounds dorky, but I always say set a timer for 10 minutes and write about that thing. 10 minutes, that's nothing, right? I guarantee your brain is going to tell you some things that will totally shock you about that part of your life that you didn't realize. So your thoughts just kind of tell you, oh yeah, I feel a little anxiety over that. No biggie. But what's underneath in your subconscious thinking, that's going to come out as you put pen to paper or fingers to the keyboard. What your soul and your gut are really feeling, it's going to come out and you're going to realize, oh, there's a little bit of something buried in there that you won't get to if you just think about it. The physical act of writing about it, it's going to give you some evidence that you can really use. So again, take that information that you pull from your writing and figure out what step you're going to take to start living more simply, to gain that part of your life back. You can track your progress each week and kind of give yourself assignments if you like that kind of thing to stay on track. Say, I'm going to do this week and I'm going to track how it feels. If that helps you kind of keep your focus on your goal of being more minimalist. So being a minimalist, it means finding your focus and making intentional decisions that don't leave you feeling buried by life and the stuff that comes with it. That's it. It doesn't mean doing drastic things, just being more intentional, finding your focus, not getting buried by life. So take a deep breath and ask yourself where you feel buried and what you can do to change course. You don't need a tiny house. Just be your authentic self. But be honest about where the anxiety lives and face it because you are in control. Now, life coaching, it's all about breaking life down and doing the small things that eventually lead to big change. And I want to say great job to you. Great job on being open to hearing about this and considering doing the work to live more simply. Thank you so much for listening. If you're liking the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, forward it to someone who might appreciate it. I would appreciate that. If you'd like one-on-one wellness coaching to help you get unstuck, reach out to me on my website. It's RebeccaRine.com. It's RebeccaRine.com. Think of one way you can live more simply this week and give your brain some space. You've got this. You're awesome. Be well.